What's going on, everyone? So, the Memphis Grizzlies are looking to bounce back this upcoming season. Obviously, last year they missed the playoffs, primarily because Morant just can't get out of his own way, right? Like, is an incredible talent. He's still only 25 years old, and I really would like to see him just kind of focus on basketball, right? Just like he just is in all these other antics, and it's like, for what, man? Like, you're one of the most gifted players in this game. He was on track to very likely be the face of the league at some point, and now it's just he just keeps stumbling over his own feet, and he has a team that very well could be competing. Um, I don't really think the Grizzlies personally are a championship contender, but I also don't think it would be far-fetched if they're in the conference finals or, if they, stumble into the NBA finals, right? Stranger things have happened. And, you look at a team like Dallas last year, no one really thought Dallas was going to end up being in the NBA finals. Even going into the playoffs, they were looking better, but they were still a little shaky. And then they just turned it on in the playoffs. The defense was fantastic. Luka and Kyrie kind of seemed to figure it out. PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford turned out to be great acquisitions for them. And they just got the right matchups, went on the right run. Next thing you know, you look up and they're in the NBA finals, right? Could a similar thing happen to the Grizzlies? I believe so, right? Obviously, Ja has to also stay healthy. His style of play is always kind of concerning, right? Dating back to Derrick Rose, right? That just reckless abandonment, driving to the rim, constantly on the floor, right? Like, that wears and puts a toll on you. The more and more that you go through that, right? Now, last year, him getting injured, I actually think personally was just because he missed so much time and wasn't able to work out. Now, he was, I'm sure, doing his own regimes and stuff, but he wasn't, part of his suspension was he couldn't work out in the Grizzlies facility and all that stuff, so he wasn't able to actually put the work in, work with his team, all that stuff. And then he goes from 0 to 100, and it's a lot to put on the body because he's so far behind. He's trying to, like, hey, we could squeeze into a play-in and then have a chance, and it just, like, it didn't work out. Now, the Grizzlies are a team that, like, you could tell me are a top 3 seed, and you could tell me missed the playoffs entirely, and I'd believe it either way, right? Because, I mean, the Western Conference is insane still, right? It's still incredibly stacked, right? I know teams like the Nuggets and the Clippers kind of regress, but I actually think both teams are still going to be good. Clippers, I think they're worse suited to win a championship, but I think they're better suited for the regular season, right? Like, they added some nice, young, athletic, versatile talent. They should be good defensively. They got some athletic wings. There's definitely some holes in their game. I think for the Clippers, it really boils down to Kawhi Leonard, right? How healthy can Kawhi be? But I also think the acquisition of Zack E is going to go well and do wonders for the Grizzlies because Zack E is a guy that can help immediately, right? He's not really a development big. I mean, he's probably closer to his ceiling than his floor. I know that sounds crazy to think with him being a rookie, but he's already incredibly gifted, right? But he is more of closer to a traditional big than a kind of modern. But also, he's shown the ability to stretch the floor and knock down the 3 ball. So if he can develop that and add that to his repertoire, I definitely think that there's room for improvement. Like, I'm not saying that he's capped already, but he's not this, like, 19-year-old with all the upside in the world, right? Like, he's a very specific type of talent, but it fits what the Grizzlies need, right? Like, his size, his scoring ability around the rim, if he could stretch the floor a little bit, little playmaking, right? Like, Zack E makes a lot of sense for the Memphis Grizzlies. So I do think that he's a guy that can have an immediate impact. And again, like, Zack E, you could tell me he starts and averages like 20-8 or 20-10, right? Like, and I'd believe it, right? Because again, I do think more likely than not, he probably A, will start, and B, or at least on most nights, will start. And B, I do think will be very impactful for the Grizzlies out the gate and kind of take pressure off other guys and just gives the Grizzlies a guy that they can kind of just dump the ball down to and go to work, right? Rather than just like most of their interior is coming from Ja just being aggressive, attacking the rim, or Triple J trying to beat guys off the dribble, right? Kind of allows Triple J to move to the power forward position. You got Zack E. You go with like a Ja, Desmond Baines, Zack E, Triple J, right? Like I like that lineup, right? I like the way that could potentially play out. Do you go with the other spot though? Do you go with like a Marcus Smart, which I'd have concerns? You'd be kind of small out on the perimeter, but Marcus Smart is a guy that can defend big, right? He's a guy that can defend bigger, I should say. But you also have several other options out there. And then, I think that they have some solid depth, right? I think this is a team that has some solid versatility. Do you even put do you even try like Brandon Clark out there at times? But again, this is a team that, you look at the Western Conference and it's like, okay, I think the Thunder, probably the best team in the West. Were last year, I don't think that's going to change. And then from there, the idea is that it'll be like the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, and then potentially the Mavericks, right? That those four teams will be kind of the top four hierarchy. And then everyone else is kind of just meshed in 5 through 10. And I don't really disagree with that sentiment. But, how many teams are the Grizzlies clearly better than? Right? Like, are they clearly better than the Sacramento Kings? I don't know. That's tough. I think that there's an argument that the Kings are worse with DeMar DeRozan because the last thing Sacramento really needed was like an isolation scorer that doesn't run the floor and is best in the half court with the ball in his hands, right? And doesn't shoot threes. When you look at Sacramento and like every year they're like one of the top teams, if not the top team in pace. They're like top 3 in 3-point attempts. They're best in transition, right? Like they needed more 3-and-D, like true 3-and-D wings. Like they were better off going after like a Mikal Bridges and, trying to get an OG, something like that, than going and getting a DeMar. But, you never know how that's going to go. To the Phoenix Suns, can they finally figure it out and stay healthy, right? If the Phoenix Suns are healthy, is Memphis better than Phoenix? They're bigger in my opinion. That's questionable. The Lakers, right? Like I still like Zack E, I think solves some of their problems against the Lakers, but overall, again, like the size, is that going to be an issue? Is that going to be a problem? The Warriors, right? They improved. They got better. Clippers, I still think are going to be tough. The Pelicans, we'll see. Do they implode? They don't really have a center, right? So Zack E could be a problem for the Pelicans. That could be a thing. Again, you just kind of go through the list of these teams, and it's like there's at least an argument either way, right? Again, you could tell me Memphis top 2-3 seed, and I'd believe it, right? Like, but at the same time, if you told me like, hey man, like they finished like 10th and ended up missing the playoffs, I'd believe that too, right? Like there are still questions with this team. Can Desmond Baines, can he be more consistent, right? Like he can kind of be a roller coaster at times, right? Like when he's on, right? Like when he's cooking, but he can also, again, be very inconsistent. Triple J, right? Like defensively, is he going to be able to slot alongside Zack E? Does making him kind of a little more perimeter oriented, does that kind of become a problem? To me, at the end of the day, it boils down to Ja, right? For being honest. Memphis goes as far as Morant takes them. If Morant can kind of stay out of his own way, stay healthy, right? Memphis is going to be good. They're going to be tough. They're going to be a tough team to beat. But is there this kind of disconnect in a lot of ways, right? Like, is there this type of like, not, I wouldn't say, I don't think that there will be like drama, but I do think that there could be this like disconnect, between Ja and potentially the team and maybe even the organization, right? There were murmurs going into last season. Kind of whispers this offseason, but no, again, if they can stay healthy, they can stay right, they can put it together, I do think that they can be a very good team. Again, you get the right matchups in the playoffs, you look up, you're in the conference finals, right? Maybe you get some heroics from Ja. Now you're in the NBA finals, right? Depending on who you play in the NBA finals. I think if they play Boston, I think Boston runs through them, but if maybe you play like a Sixers or a Knicks team, right? I wouldn't be shocked if Memphis. I probably would take, depending on how Paul George fits in with the Sixers, I'd probably take either of those teams over the Grizzlies. But again, I also, you never know. You never know how the Grizzlies are going to look and how they're going to click. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that like Ja is, he's going to come in, to be a powerhouse? Memphis Grizzlies, watch out, they're going to be a problem. Do you think like, like the Grizzlies, they'll be good. They're not going to be like that good. They'll just kind of be another team in the mix. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.